public input. I don't see anybody here, so I think we can pass to the next item on the agenda. And that's the MSBA Secondary School Building Committee update. We are moving forward. We are making progress. The preferred plan of the Secondary School Building Committee, consistent with the school committee, is the combination integrated core facility high school, middle school project. That's the one, we've proposed 3 plans to the Secondary School Building Committee, but the plan that we are pushing for, the plan that has the support of the Secondary School Building Committee, is the one I just talked about, and that would be the one that, again, there's core facilities for both the middle school and the high school. High school would be built new, the middle school would be renovated. We are in the process of trying to complete a new space summary based on input and feedback that we've gotten from the Secondary School Building Committee. We're trying to fit the space that we have for the combined 2 schools into a template that makes sense for the secondary school, for the MSBA. I think there's a conference call tomorrow, Kathy?
That's correct. There's a conference call at 10 a.m. I will be participating along with John and Bernard, the principal of the high school. Catherine has an appointment that she needs to keep. And then Brad Dorr and Chris Simler will be going into the MSBA.
Okay. And what we're trying to do is to reconcile some differences that we have with the MSBA regarding space. So some of it academic space, some of it physical education space, but we are some square footage apart on that, and we're trying to reconcile that now. There is a meeting on September 14th that's in front of the Facilities Subcommittee Group for the MSBA, and at that point, we're trying to get approval for the educational programming and the space summary. We are hoping that, again, that the plan that will be accepted by the MSBA is the one that we're proposing. And again, I guess part of the concerns of the MSBA is that the space that we are asking for and the dollars that we're asking for is going to be absolutely relevant to the educational programs here at North Reading, and that we are not looking for additional space that they don't consider relevant to the educational programs. So we're going to refine that, and hopefully on September 14th, we're going to get some kind of an indication or approval of their acceptance of the proposal. At that point in time, I think it's going to be up to the school committee and the Secondary School Building Committee, not only to start working on the schematic design, but to also start putting together a presentation for town meeting in October, and eventually for hopefully a town meeting vote and an override vote sometime in January. So, Kathy, I don't know if you had anything to add. I know that you weren't at the last meeting, but I don't know if you've communicated at all with Chris and/or Brad regarding any other information.
I have about tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. And that is, I found out that's something that's typical, that the MSBA wants to make sure that we're on the same page before the Board of Directors reviews the preferred schematic design. So we're doing exactly what is expected of us.
Okay. Any questions from the committee?
I have a concern, actually. I know we don't have a final number of what it's going to take to push this project through for the January vote, but my recommendation for the next meeting would be to cover the repair costs versus building a new school in the next meeting, possibly, because I don't think we've really talked about that or focused on that very recently. Because if this doesn't pass, it's going to cost us quite a bit of money up front to repair some of these schools.
There are some numbers that we've thrown around. I'm not sure if we have them at our fingertips or not, but certainly, and I'm talking about, Mike, just almost necessary types of repairs that have to be completed. Yeah.
So it's quite a bit of money, and I think we need to start maybe bringing it up every meeting to kind of promote that vote in January.
The necessity. Cal, do you have any thing at your
I'd be
fingertips?
happy to get them. I can bring them back momentarily and review them if the committee would like.
If you want to
Sure.
do that, that's fine, and then I don't want to get too deep into it, but we can move through the agenda. When you get back, we'll just jump back to that, Mike,
And maybe
because,
we could just continue to promote that
Yeah.
through the year, you know?
Yeah,
If this doesn't happen, then this has to happen.
yeah, because we have looked at it. Kathy?
I was just, once this conversation is done, Wayne Hardiker is here, and I was wondering if we could go to that point of the agenda for him to address what he needs to address so that he doesn't need to stay.
Well, Wayne usually likes to stay for the whole meeting, but
Wayne usually asks if we can
I mean,
make him the last
last
item on
one
the
here
agenda
because he
after
likes
the
to-
minutes and
he likes
everything.
to
Yeah.
participate. We certainly can. Wayne will be next on the agenda,
Okay.
and we can move to that right now. Wayne, you're here on the progress of
Stay
the Little School boiler replacement?
Sorry.
Come on up.
Thank you for interjecting me into the meeting. I didn't mean to step into the agenda.
Wayne, you almost got caught behind school committee goals, which, not only for the amount of time that it would have taken, but
This
for
is
the
probably
misery it
secondary.
would have
This
cost.
is probably secondary to that. But I do want to bring up to date on our little school board replacement project. It is proceeding as planned. One of my main goals is to make sure we have heat, and we will have heat. You know, we will have a heat with an old boiler, with an older boiler, the 1997 boiler, but we will be able to heat the school during this process. What we have accomplished, we have a contractor on board. They're called Multi-Temp Corporation. I think they're out of someplace in Western Mass. That's immaterial. We had 4 quotes. They're the low bidder. We have an engineer from Littleton, BLW Engineers, who's helping us to engineer the project. It's a lot of work. It's fairly complicated. Originally, the thought was to replace the boiler with a boiler. Now we've gone beyond that to use a higher efficiency, or try to use a higher efficiency, what they call condensing boiler. We looked at those originally years ago when we did the one at the middle school here. They weren't quite refined enough, and then they've really come a long way with these high efficiency, 95% efficient boilers and gas fired. So I'm told, and I'm reasonably certain, we will save a lot of money on natural gas by heating the little school. Having said that, the old boiler, which is probably 1955 vintage when the A-wing was built, we've added A-wing, B-wing in '68, and 1997 C-wing. The original boiler we haven't used in like 2 years because it really is out of service. And so that's the whole process to do this, is to replace that boiler. During the process, well, we knew it ahead of time. There is asbestos in that boiler. And it's a steel sectional boiler, cast iron sectional boiler. And how they seal the sections, which they've done forever, is they use an asbestos mastic to seal the sections. And we've known it's been there forever. So we have hired a company, a hygienist, which has gone off, which is a separate bid to remove this boiler and the asbestos. And that's going to start on Wednesday. We've got very favorable bids. We have a hygienist which we've used for years called Hub Testing. They've been around since 1945. We've done, I'm going to say, 8 or 10 asbestos removal abatement projects in the school department since I've been here. They've all gone extremely well. We're very careful about how we do this. We're all in the state processes. We do everything by the book, and this project will be done by the book. The hygienist checks the air quality before, during, and after. Everything is done under negative air pressure. Another buzzword, but it does keep any contaminants in the enclosure in a filtered space. The contractor will be only in the boiler room, and the sections of boiler will be taken out through the boiler room door and put in a sealed dumpster. So I'm 100% confident we will have 0 problems with removing the asbestos. That'll start on Wednesday. It'll probably be done Friday or Monday. Once we get the clean bill of health, and we will, air quality test before, during, and after. All of that boiler will be gone, all of the enclosure will be gone, all of the piping for negative air pressure will be gone, and the contractor will continue. He's already in there. The contractor's already in there. He's not touching this existing boiler, but he's doing other things. He's removing piping, he's removing pumps. Once the old boiler's gone, we'll still have an existing boiler. So what the contractor will start doing, probably early next week, and there's already a lot of equipment there, is installing 2 condensing boilers. And why they call them condensing boilers, they're under natural gas, but they produce a lot of water vapor during the combustion process. And a lot of the water vapor is expelled and it goes down the drain, just as water vapor. That's why they call them condensing boilers. It's high technology, you know, I've looked into them, they're very, very high efficiency units, and I know we'll save some money. Once we get two in place, get them operational, the third boiler, which is still operational, will be removed, and we'll install a third condensing boiler. It's a little different than what I initially had thought, but part of our due diligence as administrators is to see if we can get the best bang for our dollar, and this looks like an excellent way to proceed with the little school, because the little school is not going anywhere. So that's where we are.
Wayne, what do you see for a timeline for finishing the project?
Probably November 1st.
And there's no issue doing that with school in session or anything like that?
Zero. Always, my main concern is can we, and I usually use October 15th, so it is the break period, to start heating schools. And I've got guarantees from the engineer and the contractor that the existing boiler, which is fully operational now, will continue. So say September 1st, hopefully not. October 1st gets a little chilly. I'm always reluctant to start. You know, it's not quite chilly enough yet, but if we have to start it, we will, and we can. And that one boiler will carry the school and it has.
And the appropriation we have is enough to cover the entire cost of the project?
I think we're in good shape.
Okay. Any
Wayne?
questions from anyone else?
I had a question. There was something brought up by the Energy Conservation Group at the meeting about some kind of modulator.
Let me speak to that. There were, as we were making our presentation at town meeting,
Right.
a member of the Energy Subcommittee made a couple requests or comments. You know, frankly, after the bid and the specs had been developed and,
Right.
and the project had done, he asked that we consider two add-ons to this project. The first add-on was that we consider these high-efficiency condensing boilers.
Okay.
The second request was the installation of variable speed pump drives.
Right.
And we're successful in the development of the three condensing boilers. We are presently not successful in adding the variable pump drives to the project because, first of all, the estimate that we discussed in this morning or in the past several weeks is it's about a $75,000 additional cost. But more importantly, and correct me here, Wayne, the imposition of the variable speed drives requires an infrastructure change throughout the little school building. The little school building has a lot of
Just a quick one on that, I can add, and this came from the engineer who's helping us design this, and he said, it's a great idea, but in this school, there's what they call three-way valves, and there are several of them. To make these variable drives operate efficiently in the way they should, you need two-way valves. And that means a fairly large infrastructure change pretty much throughout the whole entire school, because there's A wing, B wing, and C wing, which are all controlled by different valves. So we right now, we're not capable of doing that. But all of the equipment we will be buying will be able to have installed on that high-efficiency motors, variable drives, and hopefully a consideration by the Energy Committee at another day.
Doesn't sound like the ROI is there either. You know, return on investment.
Well, we have found, we put a variable speed drive at the Hood School this year, and the return on investment is about a year and a half, 2 years.
But the Hood was a new school. I'm assuming we didn't have to do any infrastructure, a
That's,
lot of
right.
infrastructure change at the
that's
Hood.
correct, it was just a pump.
Right,
Right.
so the ROI would probably be 3, 4,
Yeah.
5, 6.
yeah,
maybe.
depending on how much you have to spend.
I'm glad you brought that up, though, because we had kind of a disjointed conversation about
Right.
it at town
At town
meeting.
Right.
We certainly did.
You know, I know
Well,
we
it caught
did.
us out a little off guard for one thing. but-
Well, and yeah, that was all information that had popped up at that point in time. But that's one reason Wayne wanted to come in here, to make it clear to everyone exactly what's going on. We know that the variable speed drives are a good investment. It's just there's not enough money in the article at this point to do it. But there is enough money to do, I think, that the primary thing, and that is the replacement of the boiler, the safety, and the asbestos project. I also wanted to make a point about the asbestos project. Everyone hears that word and they get a lot of concern for good reason. And it's important, I think, that we are very upfront about what it is we're going to do. And there's a couple other points I wanted to reinforce. First being, all of the access to the little school boiler is from an exterior